إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله والسلام عليه أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله محمد بن عبد الله صلوات الله والسلام عليه وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Over the weekend there was a program that many of you have heard about, you're aware of, some of you attended, the Journey of Faith program that we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to put it in the mizan of the hasanat of everyone who participated in and attended in whatever shape, form or fashion. I was assigned a talk at that meeting in which I only had 20 minutes to talk, and I just touched the surface of the issue. So when I was informed that I will give a class today at this masjid, I thought it would be a good idea to complete what I began at that particular talk, the practical talk of advising the community, advising the Muslims, advising myself and you all about paying attention to how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how he paid attention to the simple and the easy and the doable task that we find ourselves having the ability to accomplish. Unfortunately, you'll find many people, they become preoccupied with the particulars before they come to know about the generalities, the general things of the religion that everyone should know about. A person preoccupies himself with the particular issue. The individual, especially young people, students of knowledge, the person becomes preoccupied and he familiarizes himself with the controversial issues before familiarizing himself with the issues that are accepted and established and agreed upon in the religion. So you'll find him giving a talk in a masjid where the Muslims don't know much about their religion. It may be a cultural masjid, and he wants to give a talk about whether or not the Prophet's mother and the father of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whether or not they're in the nar of Jahannam. And he establishes that they are in the Hellfire. And he brings that to the attention of the people in the masjid. And because of their level of understanding or lack of understanding, there's fitna and fawda. And he can't understand why the people didn't embrace what he was trying to say. It's because he began with what was controversial, even if the truth is with him. Those companions, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Ali ibn Abi Talib, and the other companions, from the tarbiyah that they received from the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they used to tell the people, حدثوا الناس على قدر عقولهم أتريد أن يكذب الله ورسوله. Talk to the people, give dawah to the people, interact with the people. Talk to them in accordance to their level of understanding. Do you want the people to reject Allah and His Messenger because you introduced them to something that was just too much for them for that at that particular time? So today's talk, Ikhwani, is an encouragement for all of us to look at the importance of keeping your religion simple and keeping your life simple and not complicating your life. Not complicating your Islam, the way you worship Allah. Where we come from in the UK, there are the political Islamic groups. I don't want to name them because if I name them, people will get upset. And then everything that I say, they won't listen to me. So I'm not going to name the groups, but there are a number of political groups in the UK. They want the establishment of the Khilafah, and that's all they scream. Khilafah, 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 and that's important. But it's more important that each and every one of us establishes the khilaf in his own house first. You're the Khalifa and the Imam in your own house. So establish the khilaf in your house where you pray and your wife prays and she wears hijab and your children are getting the tarbiyah of al-Islam and so forth and so on. Clean up your own house. If you clean up your house, Allah will clean up this earth for us. So why are we going to talk about this big issue about the khilafah, which is good, it's from the deen. But when we look at our condition and our realities as individuals, families, communities, khilaf is way down the line for right now. In the UK, we have some groups where everything is jihad, jihad, jihad. Kill this one, kill that one, we're going to go and liberate this, we're going to liberate that, so forth and so on. Akhi, make jihad against your own nafs first, because if you don't make jihad against your own shaitan, the other jihad is going to be very difficult on you. People who call out jihad, 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 a lot of times, if you were to really look close at the reality of how they understand Islam and apply Islam, those are the people you have to run away from, because when pressure is put on them, when they get caught and pressure is put on them, they're the first ones to start saying things that are not true and incriminating people who are innocent. So the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he preoccupied the people with that which was reasonable, that which was within their ability to deal with it and to do it. So we don't agree with the way of making the religion easy, difficult on the people. As the Prophet told us sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inna hadha deen yusrun wala yushad ad-deen ahadun illa ghalabahu. This religion of Islam is easy, and anyone who tries to make it difficult, the deen is going to overcome him. For what remains of this day, 9:30, there are many things that we can do. We can do this dars, we can memorize the Qur'an, we can go and visit our relatives, we can give sadaqah, we can read the juz of the Qur'an, we can go and visit some of our relatives, we can go and we can do a lot of things. If you try to do everything from now to Fajr, this deen is going to overtake you. So go into the religion with ease. That doesn't mean to be mutasahil, hayyin, layyin, everything, neglect everything. It doesn't mean that. It means take it easy. Don't go overboard, and don't make things unnecessarily difficult upon yourself, difficult upon your family, difficult upon the community, difficult upon anyone. The deen is easy. I want you to take a look again at some of the many examples of how the Prophet ﷺ and the Deen of Al-Islam focused upon making things easy, the lessons that we get from him. And anyone who has an intellect, he can't or she can't fail to take this into consideration. From what we see in his sunnah, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, is the fact that everyone knows he called to the Tawheed of Allah for 13 years, and he didn't preoccupy the people with anything other than that. Around him, during those 13 years, the kuffar of Quraysh, they were praying at the Kaaba. وَمَا كَانَ صَلَاتُهُمْ عِنْدَ الْبَيْتِ إِلَّا مُكَاءٍ وَتَصْدِيَةٍ. Their salat at the Kaaba was nothing but whistling and clapping hands. They weren't worshiping Allah. They were making shirk with Allah, but they were praying during those 13 years. He didn't preoccupy the companions with that salat. They were making hajj, they were making umrah, they were taking care of the hujjaj, they were giving sadaqah, they were doing a lot of things. The Nabi for 13 years concentrated on the most important issue in this religion, and that is connecting the person to Allah, who he is, who he isn't, what he does, what he doesn't do, where he is, where he isn't. Because if the person doesn't know that, then everything else, which is predicated and built upon the knowledge of who Allah is going to be faulty. That's a lesson. That's a lesson. Some of the people, especially from the political groups, they get upset and they say, until when are we going to deal with this issue of calling the Muslims to the Tawheed of Allah? That's one example. Another example is the issue of the Qur'an itself. The beginning of Islam, Al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to prevent his companions until they went to Mecca. He didn't allow the Muslims to write anything from his sunnah. He just allowed a few people to write, and he supervised what they wrote. And most of them was his scribes, like Ali ibn Abi Talib. People used to write the Qur'an. He allowed a few of them to write in the beginning of Islam. But when he went to Mecca and the Qur'an was almost complete, he allowed everybody to write. But at the beginning, he let the people just pay attention to the Qur'an in terms of writing it, putting the emphasis, not making things difficult and complicated on the people. He told his companion sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam at that time, "In kataba anni ghayr al-Qur'an falyamhuhu." Any of you who have written other than the Qur'an from my mouth, then erase it, because he didn't want the Qur'an to get mixed up with his kalam sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Another example concerning the Qur'an, Abdullah ibn Abbas, as well as Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Abu Sa'id Al-Khudri, Jabir ibn Abdullah, they made some statements, ikhwani, that teach us the importance of the Qur'an and showing us that the Muslim, the student of knowledge, the youngster, we should start off with the Qur'an. Don't make things difficult on yourself. Read in Majmu' al-Fatawa, and you want to be an expert in Majmu' al-Fatawa of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, so that you can quote from that beneficial book. No, you have to preoccupy yourself with the book of Allah first and foremost. You have to read and memorize Usamah before you jump to all of those other issues. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he told the people sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, "Kana النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يعلمنا التشهد كما يعلمنا السورة من القرآن." He used to teach us at-tashahhud. Some of the scholars said at-tashahhud is the dua in the salat, and that's the weaker opinion. The majority of them say that the tashahhud here is khutbatul haja, what I started this talk off. He used to teach the regular Muslims, إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره. He used to teach this to regular people the way he taught them the Qur'an. So from that statement, we understand that the Qur'an was the asl. That's why he said it. The emphasis that he put on the Qur'an, learn this Qur'an, he would teach them the salah and the dua of istikhara, the way he taught them the Qur'an. The emphasis showing the Qur'an is the asl. That's the thing that he really focused upon. At-tashahhud, khutbat al-haja, the way that he used to teach the people the Qur'an, the emphasis. The point here is, the emphasis was on the book of Allah. As a revert, I came to al-Islam, and alhamdulillah I found the sunnah, and I came to know that the truth in al-Islam and the only religion that Allah is going to accept from us Yawm al-Qiyamah is the religion that Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, Aisha and Khadija radiyallahu anhum, the religion that they practice. Anybody coming and he's doing an ibadah or he's understanding something that they didn't do, they didn't understand, it's going to be rejected from you. The scholars of Islam call that a salafiyah. Put the name to the side. The point is the idea. Anyone comes Yawm al-Qiyam, he's raised up, and he cannot show that his religion is the same religion that those companions understood, then he's going to be in trouble. Yawm al-Qiyam, he's going to be in trouble. Yawm al-Qiyam. In the journey to as-Salafiyah, I found many of the reverts, many of the youngsters, when we see as-Salafiyah, we become rough and we become tough, and we become preoccupied with issues that are important, just like those groups that are political. We become preoccupied with issues that are important, but they're issues that we make things difficult on ourselves and people with. I will mention the word al-jarh wa ta'deel in this masjid, and most Muslims don't know what that means. How am I, a revert Muslim, going to start talking about that issue and using that issue to deal with the common folk in this masjid? And based upon that science, I love you and I hate you and I want you and I don't like you and I warn against you and I'm not with you. How is that possible? No. Learn the Qur'an first, Abdullah. Learn how to read the Qur'an, and those bigger issues are going to take care of themselves. Becoming a scholar or proficient or knowledgeable about usul al-fiqh is going to take care of itself. So those companions of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they learned from the best murabbi who knew how to teach the people. They said that they would not memorize more than 10 ayahs of the Qur'an, work by those 10 ayahs, and then move on to the next 10. They didn't try to sit and memorize all of Surah Al-Baqarah in 1 or 2 or 3 days. They focused on what was manageable. A long journey, memorizing this Qur'an is a long journey. It's a long journey. Like any other journey. You want to go from here to Mecca, that long journey begins with one step. If you don't take that one step, you're not going anywhere. So you have to take the one baby step. in all aspects of your deen. And we find that coming from the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now look at and let us consider this point of how al-Islam, the Qur'an and the Sunnah, how it focuses upon those things that are simple. The Nabi told the people sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam, "Ma minkum min ahadin illa wa sayukallimuhu rabbuhu yawm al-qiyamati laysa baynahu wa baynahu turjuman fayanzur aymana minhu fala yara illa ma qaddama min amalin وينظر إلى أشأم منه فلا يرى إلا ما قدم من عمل وينظر بين يديه فلا يرى إلا النار تلقى وجهه فاتقوا النار ولو بشق تمرة." There's not a single person here, not one of you here, except that we're all going to stand before Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah, barefooted, naked, and uncircumcised. The person will be standing there. He won't have any translator between him and Allah, because Allah is the creator of all languages, the knower of everything big and small. The individual will stand there and he'll look to his right, and all he'll find is what he put forth from his good deeds. He prayed Salat al-Maghrib and he stayed in the masjid. He gave a lesson, he listened to the lesson. He had birrul walidain, he had sabr, he made istighfar, he gave sadaqah, he made tawbah ilallah. He'll find all of those things. And then he'll look to his left and he'll find his bad deeds. And then he'll look in front of him and he'll find the hellfire. The Nabi told the people sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so fear the hellfire even if it's with half of a date. That's the Nabi telling the people, telling all of us. Keep it simple and don't complicate issues. You can save yourself from the hellfire with half of a date. I have a whole date, I break off half and keep half, and I give somebody else the other half of the date. That man is fasting, I give him half of that date, I'm going to get the reward of his fast, so forth and so on. He didn't tell us do something big, do something magnificent, although that's good, and although you'll receive your reward from that. That's a dalil showing the importance of keeping it simple. Do those things that you have the ability to do. Just now while we were praying, the adhan, the salat, and to the point that I'm sitting here and you're sitting there as well, are many small things that people can do where their ajr with Allah is only He knows the reward. Only He knows. From the time that adhan was made until right now, where you're sitting, how you're sitting, what you're doing, small things that we can do. Itty bitty small things that are practical. Sometimes all they require you is to take one step, 2 steps. That's all it requires. Instead of sitting over there, you sit over here. Small things. So many examples. But from those nusus that I want to share with you is that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with the companions to a grave. He saw a grave that he didn't recognize before. He said, whose grave is that? And for the people in our ummah, we have people where I come from anyway. I don't know how it is in Toronto, but I think there are masajid like this. Some Muslims actually believe that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is what they call in their language Hazir Nazir, meaning Hadir Nazir, that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is omnipresent. He's everywhere all the time. He's with us here. He's in China. When I became a Muslim, there was a chair right here that was green, a chair over there that was white. And I used to ask them, why are those chairs there? They used to tell me, Khalid is sitting on the green chair, Rasulullah is sitting on the white chair. I said, is that only in our masjid? They say, no, that's all over the world. I knew, just from the fitrah, I have to get away from these people. These people will send you astray with that kind of understanding. They believe, some people from our ummah, we want to do the khilafah. That's good. But we're dealing with Muslims who believe the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has the ilm al-ghayb. He knows everything. So the point here is, anytime we see a hadith where the Prophet asks a question like, Liman hadha al-qabr? Whose grave is that? That's a proof he doesn't know everything. He said, whose grave is that? They told him, Ya Rasulullah, that's so-and-so's grave. Such a man, he died. He told the people sallallahu alaihi wasallam, rak'atan ahabbu ila hadha min baqiyati dunyakum. For this man to be able to come out of that grave and to pray 2 rakat, just 2 rakat, is more beloved to him than what remains of your dunya. Only Allah knows when everyone here is going to die. Some people are going to be successful in doing some big things in the dunya. If we add up everything that we do in terms of how much money we collect, how many children we have, all of the good things that the people in this room do and the people connected to us, there's going to be a lot. That man, to be able to come out of that grave just to do something simple like pray 2 rakat is more beloved to him than what remains of our dunya or other than our dunya. He's not going to want to come back to the dunya to make 25 hajj, 1,000 umrahs, to feed all of the masakeen. Today I saw on Al Jazeera, we ask Allah Ta'ala to help these people. There's a drought in East Africa where people are walking from Ethiopia, Somalia. They're walking. They don't have any food. They don't have any drink. That person doesn't want to come out of the grave to go over to that area to feed all of those muhtajeen and masakeen. All he wants to do is make 2 rakats after knowing the reality of being in that grave, keeping it simple. So when a person has an opportunity to pray 2 rakats, he didn't die, now he's living. Opportunity to pray 2 rakats, let him take advantage of it. The point here, ikhwani, these are examples from the nusus of al-Islam that go to show just keep it simple. So he told his companion Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As radiyallahu anhu, la tahqiranna shay'an min al-ma'ruf. Do not look at anything as being insignificant if it is ma'ruf. The little brother, I don't know, I don't remember who he was. He brought me the handkerchief, the tissue. That's from the ma'ruf. Only Allah knows what that ma'ruf would do for that individual. Never be one of those people who he's shy of doing something simple. The 3 people, they listened to the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 3. One of them, aqbala ala Allah, fa aqbala Allahu alayhi. He came and he found an empty space without hitting people. He came and he found the space right there and he came to Allah. Allah came to him in a way that befits His Majesty. The second man is istahya fastahya Allahu minhu. He was shy. He didn't want people to see that he had hirs and a desire to come. He was shy. So he stayed back there. Allah was shy from him. And then the third individual, he turned away. He was like, I ain't got no time for that. And he just rolled and bounced. So Allah Azza wa Jal turned away from him. The point is, don't be a person who is shy to do something. He told the Muslim woman, when you cook for your family, increase the water in the maraq. Increase the water and send to your neighbor some soup in a bone. Now we're living at a time when the people, when they get the soup in the bone, they say, oh, they get the soup in the bone. That's what the Prophet said, La tahqiranna shay'an min ma'ruf. Don't look at anything that is ma'ruf as being small and insignificant. The one who received it, the one who was done to, the one who did it, or the one who was done for. Because everything is important. Especially in light of the fact, ikhwani, Yawm al-Qiyamah, like that man in that grave, Yawm al-Qiyamah, most of the people are going to have al-hasra from what passed them by. They're going to be sad as a result of what they didn't do. They're going to be sorry for what they did do from the bad deeds. Many of the ayat of the Qur'an mention that, like the statement of Allah Ta'ala in Surah Al-Zumar, وَاتَّبِعُوا أَحْسَنَ مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكُم مِّن رَبِّكُم مِّن قَبْلِ أَن يَأْتِيَكُمُ الْعَذَابُ بَغْتَةً وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ أَن تَقُولَ نَفْسٌ يَا حَسْرَةَ عَلَى مَا فَرَّطْتُ فِي جَنبِ اللَّهِ. You people, follow the best of what was revealed to you from your Lord. اتَّبِعُوا أَحْسَنَ مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكُم مِّن رَبِّكُم. Follow what is best. Some of the scholars said what is best of what was revealed to us by Allah are the easy things that you can do. The things that are easy for you. They don't require anything from you except just to make a little effort. The person learns how to pray, and the Nabi told us that the person, when he points his finger in the tashahhud, لَهِيَ أَشَدُّ عَلَى الشَّيْطَانِ مِنَ الْحَدِيدِ, just pointing his finger with La ilaha illallah, it is more harmful to the shaitan than hitting the shaitan with an iron pipe or pole. The person is praying, he doesn't learn, for an example, and he's lazy or he's ignorant, he doesn't know, and he just keeps his finger down and never puts his finger up, or he only puts it up at the time of the tashahhud, when he's going to make the la ilaha illallah part. No, it doesn't require. Follow the best of what was revealed to you by your Lord. Those things that are easy, like just pointing your finger. When the individual was born, without an exception, the only exception is Isa ibn Maryam. When everybody was born and he came out of his mother's womb, Iblis came and poked him in the stomach to declare war on him, to let him know, I'm here to destroy you. The person has an opportunity now, many opportunities in Islam, just to say Bismillah. Just an opportunity to say Bismillah. I think most of us have the natural ghairah for Islam. I don't want anybody to see my wife. I don't want any human being to see my wife, see my daughter, any human being. Okay, what about those jinn that we believe in? The jinn. Simple issue. The Nabi told the people, simple. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sitru ma bayna a'yun al-jan wa awrati bani Adam idha khala'a ahaduhum thawbahu and yaqul bismillah. If a man or a woman takes their clothes off to go to bed, to go to the bathroom, akramakum Allah, take a shower, if a person takes his clothes off, the hijab or the veil between him and the jinn is for one of them just to say Bismillah. If he says Bismillah, the jinn can't see his aura. The jinn can't see his aura. If we really had iman in the jinn, and they're here, they're around, believers and disbelievers. I don't want human being seeing my wife's aura, especially my women folk. So why don't we educate ourselves about that simple, easy issue? Just saying Bismillah when you eat, when you have relations, and other than that. Follow the best of what was sent down to you from your Lord before the punishment comes to you unexpectedly, meaning death. And then you say, oh, woe is me for what I fell short of in terms of the rights of Allah. Verily, I was from those people who were the losers. So the point here, Ikhwani, is that there are a lot of benefits of doing the small deeds, and that's what we want to talk about here today. Some of the fawaid of doing the small, simple deeds, the benefits, and there are many. I was only able to mention two on that day, and then the lecture was over. They had a clock there, and before I even got to these two, I had 2 minutes. So I want to give you some practical advice. What are some of the benefits in the religion of doing the small deeds, the easy things? You didn't memorize the Qur'an, but there are some simple, easy things that we can add on to what we already mentioned. Saying Bismillah before you eat, Bismillah before you go into your house, and all of that big stuff that happens as a result of that small deen. There are many things. Number one, from the fawaid of the small things, is that the small things, ikhwani, the small deeds that we do in Islam that have been legislated, they will equal sometimes the big things. The person makes tawbah to Allah, the young person becomes a Muslim, the young person starts to practice, and he wants to do a lot. I'm going to start fasting every Monday, every Thursday. I'm going to pray Qiyamul Layl. I'm going to travel, and I'm going to go to Mauritania in order to get knowledge of Mauritania, because that's where knowledge is. Since I've been in Toronto, I must have heard from 10 young brothers, I want to go to Mauritania. I say, yes, you can go to Mauritania and you can get knowledge. They really memorize, especially on the Maliki madhab. They are really mujtahidun over there. But if you go there and you get malaria for 8 or 9 months of the year, what's the benefit of that? What's the benefit of that? Take it easy, slow down, slow your roll and pump your brakes, and do what you have the ability to do. The small deed that you do, it can equal the big deeds. Just to give you a few examples of that very quickly, inshallah. The Nabi told us, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, man fattara as-sa'ima faka'annama falahu mithlu ajri falahu mithlu ajrihi. The individual who gives a person who's fasting, he breaks the fast of a faster. The one who does that, he'll get the reward of the person who fasted. The small deed of giving him a date, giving him some food, giving him a cookie, something small, just giving him some water, you're the one who broke his fast. You didn't do the fast, especially now in the summertime. You didn't fast from Fajr to Maghrib right now. You didn't do that. He made all of those efforts. But you did a small thing. You just gave him some water. You just gave him a date. And you get the same reward. And another hadith that shows the benefit of doing the small deeds and how they can equal the big deeds. The Prophet told us of something we wouldn't have never known about had it not been for the revelation. He says, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, ala kulli nafsin fi kulli yawmin tala'at alayha shams sadaqa. Every single day that the sun comes up, like today, it came up and it's set. Every single day that the sun comes up, every soul has to give sadaqah. And he said in another hadith like that, ala kulli sulama libni Adam sadaqa. Every single joint that Ibn Adam has, he has to give a sadaqah for every single joint. In this pinky finger, there are a number of joints. In his little toe, his knees, his ankles, his neck, in his jaw, there are joints. Every single joint. The Nabi said that there were 360 joints in the body. How did he know that? And if the kuffar came and they said, I'm a professional and I'm a MD, I say that there's more than 360 and the Nabi is lied. Your prophet is lied. As Muslims, we're going to say, no, you're the liar. You're the liar. Because if medicine goes against what Al-Mustafa Al-Amin said, then he's right and the people are wrong. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He said 360 joints that you have. So he went on to encourage the people, saying, Alhamdulillah is a sadaqah, Subhanallah is a sadaqah, La ilaha illallah is a sadaqah, Allahu Akbar is a sadaqah, Al-Amr bin Ma'ruf is a sadaqah, Al-Nahyu an al-Munkar is a sadaqah, helping someone get up, opening the door, all of that is a sadaqah. He said, وَتَجْزِي ذَلِكَ كُلُّهُ رَكَعْتَا الضُّحَى. And the thing that will do a sadaqah for every single joint in your body is just making 2 rak'ahs of ad-duha. We all owe Allah. He didn't say you had to do something big and do a lot. Just pray 2 rak'at and you've given Allah Azza wa Jal the sadaqah that you owe Him because you woke up today and He gave you life today. Something simple. That's the point. That the small deed that you do can reach and equal those big things. That's one of the benefits. Another benefit, Khwani, is that the small deeds, they actually can become bigger in the reward than the big deeds. The small deed, it becomes bigger in the reward than the big deeds. All we have to do is look and study what the Prophet said about these issues, about the ajur, the rewards for this and that. And this is just too many examples for this. The small deed that the person does. He says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sabaqa dirhamun mi'ata alf dirham. Rajul lahu dirhaman فأخذ أحدهما فتصدق به ورجل له مال كثير فأخذ من عرضه 100,000 فتصدق بها. He said 1 dirham, $1, it outstretched, it outreached, it outweighed 100,000 dirhams, $100,000. $1, it outweighed 100,000. He said that there was a man who only had $2, 2 dirhams. That's all he owned. He kept one for himself to take care of his own needs and his family first. And then he took the other one and he gave it in sadaqah. So he gave half of his wealth. Then there was another man, he had a lot of money. He had $1 million, 1 million dirhams. He took from that million, 100,000 and he gave it as sadaqah. That is a lot of money to give. And yet the one who gave the 1 dirham, he only gave 1 dirham. It was more than the guy who gave 100,000. And that's because the effort of that 1 dirham and what he did, it required more. The sacrifice was more. The sacrifice was more. He didn't give that in comparison. And obviously this comes with a person knowing his religion. When he knows his religion, he can maximize the rewards that he gives. And there are just too many examples of that. He told the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like I just mentioned, if we said Ameen when the Imam says Ameen, he said, Man wafaqat ta'minuhu ta'min al-malaikati ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbihi. If the Imam says Ameen, and you say Ameen at the right time when he says Ameen, and the Malaika say Ameen, then the person who simply says Ameen, his previous sins will be forgiven. And then the madhab comes, and the madhab says, don't say Ameen. And the Muslim, he sees the hadith that I just mentioned inside Bukhari and Muslim. He says, but I'm not going to do that because the madhab said don't do it. And he blocks himself out of a lot of rewards, and all he has to do is say Ameen. Something small, and his previous sins are forgiven. So that's from the benefits of the small deeds. Just keep it simple. من توضأ كما أمر وصلى كما أمر غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Anyone who makes wudu the way he was told to make wudu, and he makes salat the way he was commanded to make salat, his previous sins will be forgiven. All he has to do is make wudu, save the water, touch everything properly, and don't go overboard in the number. Don't do 4, don't do 1 for this, 2 for that, 3 for this. Don't do 4, don't go overboard, don't waste the water, go in the tartib. If he does that, he'll be forgiven his previous sins. And there are just too many examples to enumerate. The one who prays on the day of Laylatul Qadr is better than 1,000 months, 83 years, just because he took the time out to make dua, Laylatul Qadr. That small thing, Allah Azza wa Jalla rewarded it far beyond what the person did, far beyond. So the point here, Ikhwani, is in our religion, whoever connects the row, Allah will connect him. The best step that a person can take, the Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the step that he took in jihad, or the step that he took to connect the row. He sees a space in front of him is open. And whatever row it is, it doesn't have to be the first row, it can be the last row. He's in the last row, there's a space that comes in front of him. He, along with the guy next to him on the right and the left, they're all looking at each other. And they're waiting to see who's going to go. And he stays in his place. The Nabi said about that small deed, whoever connects the row, Allah will connect him. Allah will connect his children. Allah will connect his affairs. He wants to get a job. He wants to get a degree. He wants to get married. He wants to get his immigrations. He wants to get his driver's license. He wants to pass the test. Do the small deed. Just do the small issue. And there are too many examples of it. Those are just a few. From the benefits, Ikhwani, but I want to just mention a few more. Some of the benefits of the small deeds. The Salat al-Janaza. Ikhwani, when you hear about the Janaza taking place in the city of Toronto, even if it's all the way on the other side of town, go after it. The one who prays the Salat of al-Janaza will get the reward of 1 qirat. The Nabi said that the qirat is like the size of Mount Uhud. How many of you have been to Mecca and Medina? Put your hand up if you've been to Mecca and Medina. So you saw Mount Uhud, praying the Salat of al-Janazah, whether it's your relative or it's not your relative, he gets the reward of the size of Mount Uhud. What did he do to deserve that? If he follows the Janazah, he'll get two Mount Uhuds. Again, it's not really a big deed in terms of today's easy mode of transportation. So you take this example, and there are many. We want to move on, inshallah ta'ala. From the benefits of the small deeds is that the small deeds will get you forgiven by Allah, totally and absolutely. Like we already mentioned, making wudu, Allah will forgive you. Small deed. Whoever puts his clothes on, he puts his clothes on. You're a thobe. And he says, Alhamdulillah alladhi kasani hadha thobe wa razaqanihi min ghayri hawla minni wa la quwwatan غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِهِ. The person who learns the dua of putting his thobe on that he has to do every day, and he says that simple, easy dua, he will be forgiven for what happened in his previous and it's from his previous sins. Simple. Take the book of the dua and learn the book. Especially the dua that we do every day. Because if you do it all the time, the dua is going to stay with you, just like Surah Al-Fatiha always stays with us, because we use it all the time. The small thing will get you Allah's ghufran and His maghfirah. There was a lady, as you all know the hadith, she was a zaniya, akramakum Allah. Her job, her career was zina. She was a prostitute. Every day, every single day, multiple times a day. That was her job. The lady got thirsty. She went into the well, came out of the well, saw the dog, and gave the dog water. Alhamdulillah, here in Toronto, from what I've seen, it's not like in the UK, where the Asian community, and I'm not against the Asian community, but the Asian community in the UK, they have been tried. They have been tried with the youth over there having dogs. The young people who don't practice over there, it is common not only to see the young boy with a dog, but the girl is walking down the street with a dog. I haven't seen that yet, the dog issue here. Every Muslim who knows a little bit about Islam knows the position of the dog. His saliva is najasa. He himself is dirty. The Nabi said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لولا أن الكلاب أمة مثلكم لأمرت بقتلها. If these dogs were not a nation like you are, I ordered to kill them dogs. You make salah, you're making salah, and you have a sutra, and a black dog goes in front of you while you're praying, you have to start that prayer over again because he has a jinn. He breaks your prayer. The dog is nasty. If you have a dog, he takes away from your salat every day a qirat. But that lady, she had a bad job, terrible job. She gave the dog the water. Allah Azza wa Jalla forgave the lady because giving the dog the water is something we don't even consider. Now, if that's the case with a dog, what is the case with Bani Adam? As we see in the Muslim world, like in Sudan, it's common to see in front of the homes of the people where they have the vessel and the container for the people who are walking up and down the street, just going in, you drink the water. That's from what Muslims do. I don't know if it's like that in Somalia, but that's what the Muslims do. You give somebody some water, small thing like that, Allah forgive you. And there are many examples from that. Many examples. Don't look at anything that is small as being insignificant. The man, as he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, كان الرجل يمشي في الطريق إذ وجد غصن شوكا فأخره فشكر الله له وغفر له. There was a man who was walking in the street. He saw a piece of stick in the street. He took the stick out of the way. As a result of that, Allah was thankful because He is a shakir. He is thankful, and He forgave the man. So in our masjid, in the street, in our homes, whatever the case is, taking something small, harmful, out of the way, don't look at it as being a small thing. In addition to that, ikhwani, from the benefits of the small issues, is that the small issues will get you and can get you success yawm al-qiyamah, najat. A small, easy issue can get you saved yawm al-qiyamah. It can get you over the hump. Small thing, one small thing, giving someone some papers can be the thing that causes your scale to go over to the right. Again, many examples of that. I don't see any better than the hadith of the bataqa of the man who will come yawm al-qiyamah with 99 scrolls of bad deeds for as far as his eye can see. La ilaha illallah will be put in the scroll, and La ilaha illallah is going to take care of all of those 99 scrolls. That's not a big thing, La ilaha illallah, for the person who knows it. But that's just not saying La ilaha illallah, but the person makes dua to other than Allah. He says La ilaha illallah, and he judges by other than what Allah revealed. He said La ilaha illallah, and he wears a tamima. He says La ilaha illallah, and he deals with sihr, and he believes in horoscopes. He says La ilaha illallah, and he believes in the horseshoe and the rabbit's foot. He says La ilaha illallah, and the individual thinks that the Nabi never died, or that his Shaykh knows the ilm al-ghayb, and other than that. No, the one who knows the conditions of La ilaha illallah. There are people who say La ilaha illallah and they hate the du'at of a tawheed. You bring an individual, a personality from al-Islam like Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, who is an individual who is not ma'soom. He's not the greatest Islam, the greatest imam or alim in the world. He's not. People who say La ilaha illallah hate him with a passion because their religion is a religion of making shirk with Allah and falling into innovations. So saying La ilaha illallah is not enough just for the individual to say it, but he has to bring the conditions of the issue. So the point here in the shahid of the kalam here is a small thing will get the person the ability to have najat. Last thing that I want to mention from the many things that can be mentioned, ikhwani, and it's a social issue. The small things, they help to break the barriers that we have between ourselves. The drama and the beef and the static and the hatred that we have between our relatives and between members of our community. Muslims are divided amongst themselves because of personalities and personal issues. The man is at odds with his wife. He's at odds with his mother, his father, his brother, and his sister. Small things help to solve the problem. Like what the Nabi said in so many examples, giving us the tawjihat, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about making islah between ourselves. Small things. He told the people in that hadith that I used a few times in this talk, don't look at anything as being insignificant if it's ma'roof. وَلَوْ أَن تَلْقَى أَخَاكَ بِوَجْهِ طَلْقٍ. Even if it means to look at your brother and smile in his face. You have some problems with him. It's hard to walk up to him sometimes and say, I'm sorry. It's hard to walk up to him and say, I was wrong. It's hard. Just give him a smile. Easy. We can't even do that. Can't even give a smile. He told the Muslims from the etiquettes of fostering our unity and our brotherhood and killing some of these problems. إِذَا الْتَقَى مُسْلِمَانِ وَتَصَافَحَا تتساقط منهما ذنوبهما كما تتساقط الورقة من الشجرة. If two Muslims meet each other and they greet each other and they shook hands with one another, shaking hands is ibadah in al-Islam. He said if the Muslims meet each other and they greet each other and they shook hands with one another, both of their sins are going to fall off the same way the leaves fall off from the tree. Because of the kibr, because of the being anid, stubborn, we won't smile and we won't touch her. He said that the best woman, the best wife, is the one who her husband did the wrong thing. The husband made the problem. But she comes at nighttime, she puts her hand in his hand, and she says, I can't go to sleep until you're happy with him. Because in al-Islam, when you touch people, it has an effect. It has an impact. I used to be extremely uncomfortable when I went to Al-Medina and I started mixing with the Arabs, and the Arab men would want to hold my hand. I used to be like, I don't play that stuff. It took about a year of being there to realize that they didn't mean anything by it. It's just part of the culture. It took a year because I'm coming from the Western way of thinking. The young brothers that I'm responsible for, on Sunday I give them a class and then they go and play soccer, they go and play basketball, they go and drive the car. I have to talk to them 45 minutes to an hour. We talk about different things, the importance of sidq, the evil of kadhib, the importance of birrul walidain, the importance of education. We deal with different issues. Sometimes I pick the boys out. Come here, boy. The boy comes and I want to give him love in front of the people, especially the ones who I know have some serious problems. I want to hug the boy. When I hug the boy, to give him love, the little boy is like this. And that's because he's been taught his father doesn't hug him. His father doesn't touch him. His father's from the old school. And the old school is, don't connect to your boy. Don't touch your boy. Touching in Islam has its benefits. So the small deed of just taking the person's hand is ibadah. And that's why those companions say, Ya Rasulullah, when one of us meets our brother, should we make ruku' to him? The people of Yemen, they came. He said, don't make ruku'. You see me dressed in these kind of clothes because I go to Africa, especially West Africa. So when I'm over there, I go on TV in a lot of those places. Because the knowledge of Islam, the Sunnah, is so da'if in many of those places, we try to use every weapon to open up the hearts of our brothers over there. So if you dress like them, they'll be more inclined to listen to you, inshallah. And I connect myself to that place. That's where I'm from. You ask me where I'm from? I'm not going to say America. I'm going to say I'm from Africa. What part of Africa? West Africa. They robbed us. They stole my grandfather. My great-great-grandfather stole them, went to America. We don't know where we at, but we're from West Africa. People appreciate that. They appreciate these clothes. So in the issue of the West Africans in Nigeria, when you see the older person, you have to do this to them. You have to do this to them in respect. And if you don't do that, they look at it as being big time disrespectful. I saw with my own eyes, a graduate from the College of Qur'an from Medina, memorized the Qur'an. He was the khadim of one of the richest men in Nigeria. This man has his own fleet of planes and he has a large house. I saw with my own eyes, they have different variations of doing like this. I saw with my own eyes that the brother did like this to the man when he came in. Now as Muslims, I don't think that's funny. I think the Muslims should say, Astaghfirullah, Allahu Akbar. How in the world can you lay yourself out like that, making istislam to a created being? Ya Rasulullah, when we meet each other, should we bow? No, you shouldn't bow. So if I'm learning Kung Fu, if I'm learning karate, you have to tell the sensei, you have to tell the sifu, you have to tell that teacher who's teaching you, I don't bow to nobody except Allah. That's my religion. I ain't bowing to you. And similar to it is when we go to court and they say, all rise, and then you have to rise up for the judge. Now you have a right. I don't know Canada, but in America you don't have to get up. In America, I don't know Canada. But I would do tuqiyah in this case and tell them when I go in, I have a problem, my knees hurt, my back hurt, I have a problem, so I can't get up. That's the tuqiyah, that's your Jews. That tuqiyah is your Jews. That tuqiyah is your Jews. I'm 50 years old. I may not have a problem, but I'm getting old. You know, as you get old, when you get up from the floor right now, you have to straighten your back out. It's not like it was a long time ago. So, hey, I have a back problem because the Nabi didn't like people bowing to people, nor do you like people standing up for people. And if you said to a munafiq that he is a sayyid, you have helped to demolish the deen, your honor. Now don't get me wrong, ikhwani, don't get me wrong. You have to go to court. I'm not telling you to do things to get yourself in trouble. I'm not telling you that. Because already if they're looking at you, you have so many strikes against you. You're black, you're Muslim, you have so many strikes against you. But again, know Allah, have tawakkul ala Allah. Try to use the system to get yourself in the system. They said, then Ya Rasulullah, should we hug each other? Every time we see each other, should we hug each other? He said, no. He used to hug his companions on occasions. If someone traveled and came back, he would hug them. If he went to his daughter's house, Fatima, she would open up the door, they would hug at the door. She would bring him to her seat and sit him down. If she came to his house, he would hug her at the door, bring her and sit her down in his seat. So you hug your relatives, no problem. But hugging all the time, he said, no, don't do that. They said, should we shake their hands, Ya Rasulullah? He said, yes, and the musafaha is good. It's ibadah in al-Islam. And shaking hands, ikhwani, since it's ibadah, you have to do it the correct way. Come here, my man. You have those people want to shake your hands. I don't know how we got on this point, but I think it's important. Small knowledge. Some people shake your hand and they want to break your hand. And you wear a ring. And they used to teach us this in America. The strong handshake is a sign of a strong mind. That's khurafat. Your mind got nothing to do with the strength. It's not connected. Have rahmah on the brother. Then we have the opposite, where the person shakes the hand like that. And you think he's racist. He doesn't want to touch me. Because there's a certain group of people who do that. And they have racism. You shake your hand like that. So the Nabi, when he used to shake hands, he would hold the person's hand and he wouldn't let that person's hand go until that person let his hand go. But again, fiqh of these issues. Don't hold my hand and keep holding my hand and keep holding my hand and waiting for me. We keep holding out. No, you have to let it go. Let my hand go. So the point here, ikhwani, touching people, the small things. This is the point. The small things that we do. They help to break the shackle that we have between ourselves. Doing something small like sending a text message to say I'm sorry to the person, or smiling at the person, or shaking the person's hand and not avoiding the person. So what we wanted to express to you here today is just to keep your deen simple and don't go overboard in the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, because Allah Azza wa Jal was ever forgiving and He made things easy for us. But we make the things difficult for ourselves. And Allah, He is A'la and A'lam. If you brothers have any questions, we'll answer 3 questions and that's it, because the Sheikh told me to stop at 10:30. إذا كان عندكم شيء إن شاء الله تعالى نجيب على أسئلتكم إن شاء الله 3 منها ثم نكتفي بهذا القدر. هل عندكم شيء? Anybody have a question? Okay then, my brother, go ahead.
Does that have to relate to the topic or? Alright, so I wanted to know if after 10 o'clock when the sun really goes down and starts, do you have to wait to pray Isha at the exact time?
The brother wants to know about after Salat al-Maghrib, once the sun sets, do you have to wait until Isha time to pray Salat al-Isha? Generally speaking, yes, that is the case. And that's due to the command of Allah, the statement of Allah Ta'ala, Inna as-salat kana al-mu'mineen kitabun mawquta. The salat is on the believers at prescribed periods of time. You have to pray within the window of opportunity. So you can only pray Maghrib at Maghrib time, Isha time, unless there's a religious reason. You're traveling, you're sick, or you want to practice the sunnah sometimes. And from the sunnah of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is what Abdullah ibn Abbas mentioned, is that the Prophet in al-Medina sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he combined Salat al-Dhuhr and Salat al-Asr, 4 rakat, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum. And then he made Asr, 4 rakat, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum. He did that in Medina. And then he combined Maghrib and Isha, 3 rakats for Maghrib, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum. And then 4 rakats for Isha, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu. And there was no rain and no fear. They said to Ibn Abbas, why did he do that? Ibn Abbas said, Likay la yuharrij ummatuh, to make things easy on his ummah. So if a person is really tired, he can combine Dhuhr and Asr and then go to sleep in his house. He combines Dhuhr and Asr and goes to sleep. He combines Maghrib and Isha at Maghrib's time and go to sleep. Or continue to do what he's doing, but he just relaxed. He's not going to make it because he did it sometimes. And we should do that sunnah in the masjid as well, but it shouldn't be done all the time. So generally speaking, yes, you have to wait till Isha. Where we come from in the UK, we don't have any twilight. So Maghrib time, once the sun goes down, it looks like Maghrib time all the way up until Fajr. So some of the masjids there, they combine Maghrib and Isha every single day throughout the summer. We don't do that in our masjid because we're not comfortable with being responsible to stand before Allah with that fatwa, although the fatwa has its dalil, it has its point of view, and its point of view is mustasar. It's mustasar. So if a person has a reason to combine, sometimes he can do it. He's sick, the doctor has an operation, it's going to be 6-7 hours, he combines. The student is going to have an exam, he can combine. You're going to travel and you're going to be in a plane, you don't want to go in a plane, it's dhuhr time right now, and you're going to travel at dhuhr time. You combine in your house, dhuhr and asr, and then go to the airport. It's up to you. Wallahu a'lam. If you are traveling, you began your trip, you travel and you left your house and you passed the houses of your house, you're in the trip, then you do 2 for dhuhr, 2 for asr, 3 for maghrib, 2 for isha, and al-fajr will always be 2. But if you're muqim in your house, you're really tired, you came back from a trip and you didn't pray maghrib on that trip, and now it's isha, whatever you get back, you have to pray 4 if you get back. Although you were traveling, now you got back from Ontario, right now you come here, or you got back from Montreal and you arrived in Toronto. Now you arrived in Montreal before maghrib, for an example, you do dhuhr and asr 4 because you're in your place of residence. Last question. Walaikum salam. Do you have to stand up for the national anthem? These are the type of questions, ikhwani, that we're faced with, coming to know about their reality and dealing with them. In the Deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, the ta'zeem and the glorification of people and things is based upon the Deen. Again, Ibn Abbas, he said about the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, "Ma kana ahadun ahabbu ilayya min al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wa kunna la naqumu lahu bima arafna min karahiyatihi lidhalika." There was nobody who we loved more than the Nabi, and if he came, we wouldn't stand up for him because we knew that he hated that. So the stranger would come to Medina wanting to know about Islam. When he comes into the masjid, he would go and he would say, "Where is Muhammad?" And then the people would say, "You see that man over there lying down? There he is." But he didn't stick out. They didn't make a big chair for him to sit, except for Jummah, because everyone has to see him. But with the people, he used to be so humble. So when he came in, they wouldn't stand up for him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Man ahabba an-nasa an yatamathala lahu qiyaman falyatabawwa maq'adahu min an-nar. And anyone who expects and loves and wants people to stand up for him, let him prepare his place in the hellfire, because you have a sense of kibr. So the Nabi, he didn't want, the companions didn't stand up for him. So we shouldn't stand up for people. But if you find yourself in a situation, not standing up is going to create a lot of problems. Not standing up is going to create a lot of problems. Then I say, stand up until you educate the people. Stand up so that you don't cause unnecessary problems. And I end on this. There was a basketball player in America. His brother's name was Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. He used to be a really good foul shooter. He wouldn't stand up for the national anthem. That's a big thing with those people. They blackballed him and kicked him out of the NBA because they look at that as, you don't love the country, you're not patriotic, and so forth. And he brought a lot of pressure on himself. And it could have been avoided, inshallah. But we have to have respect for people who take, positions of strength as well. Only Allah knows the reality of it. If I can get away with it, I'm not standing up. If I can get away with it, I'm not going to stand up. I'm not standing up. If I can get away with it. But if it's going to cause bigger problems, then I'm going to stand up and I'm going to hate it in my heart. But I've never been in a situation where I didn't stand, where I did what I do and I don't stand up. I don't ever stand up, ever. I'm not telling you to do that, and I'm not telling anybody else to do that. But I never stand up, and I'm never going to stand up, myself. But if it's going to bring a big problem, they're going to attack my children and my wife, although they won't be at a basketball game or something, but if that happened, then I'm going to try to avoid the problem. I won't stand up. And Allah is A'la, and He is A'lam. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على النبيين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين.